Hello, everyone. Today we are reading from a book of fairy tales. Today's tale will be Thumbelina. Once upon a time, there was a young woman who longed for a tiny child, but she wished in vain. So she went to an old witch woman and told her, "I have the greatest longing to have a little child of my own. Please help me." "Ah, if you want your dream to come true," said the sorceress, "take this grain of barley. It's not the kind the peasant sows in his field or the sort you feed to the chickens. Sow it in a flower pot, tend it, and just see what happens." "Oh, many, many thanks," cried the young woman, and she gave the old witch a silver shilling. When she got home, the woman planted the barley corn, and immediately a big, beautiful flower grew up. It was like a tulip, and its red and yellow petals were tightly closed. "It is a lovely flower," exclaimed the woman, and she kissed its petals gently. As she did this, there was a loud crack, and the bud burst open. Right in the center of the flower, on a little green pyramid, sat the tiniest, prettiest little girl. She was no bigger than your thumb, and for that reason she was called Thumbelina. Thumbelina was given a varnished walnut shell to sleep in, with a mattress of violet petals and a charming rose petal quilt. One night, as the little girl lay sleeping, an ugly old toad came in and took up Thumbelina in the walnut shell and carried it off to the stream that flowed through the garden. The old toad lived here in the mud with her son. Oh, how ugly and stupid he was! "Coax, coax, peck-ack-ack-ax," he croaked, staring at the pretty little damsel as she slept. He was too silly to say more. "Hush, you will wake her," said his mother, the toad. "She is to be your wife. So let's get the staterooms in the mud ready for your wedding." The old toad put Thumbelina in her little bed on a huge green water lily leaf. "Now she cannot run away from us," she croaked. Poor little Thumbelina woke early in the morning and wept bitterly to find herself all alone in such a strange place. Thumbelina hated the thought of marrying the young toad. Some little fishes took pity on her and nibbled through the stem of the water lily leaf. They thought her far too pretty to marry the foolish toad. Thumbelina sailed down the stream, and a butterfly helped her by pulling her leaf boat harnessed with her blue sash. All summer, Thumbelina lived in the countryside and was happy, but in the winter she was hungry and cold. At last she was given shelter by a kind old field mouse who fed her with corn, let her stay in the snug mouse hole house under the cornfield. But the mouse wished her to marry a dull, blind old mole who lived next door and was very rich. "He has a beautiful black velvet suit and a very large house," squeaked the mouse. One evening the mole took them along a passage in his house. There lay a beautiful swallow. It seemed to be dead. Thumbelina was so sorry for the pretty bird. Later she slipped away and came to the swallow. She warmed it and covered it with her own quilt. Suddenly she felt its heart beating under its soft downy feathers. All winter she nursed the beautiful swallow. How sad she was when it flew away. She was to marry the mole soon, and the thought made her very unhappy. On the day of her wedding, Thumbelina went sadly out into the field to say goodbye to the sun, for as the mole's wife she would live underground. "Farewell, sun, farewell," she cried in despair. "Greet the dear swallow if you see him." Quee-wit, quee-wit, there was a fluttering of wings, and there was the swallow swooping around her. The swallow easily persuaded Thumbelina to leave the cold and fly with him to the warm, sunny countries. Thumbelina lay among the soft feathers on the swallow's back. Away they flew over forests, lakes, and mountains. Last they reached the warm lands. The skies were blue, and lemons and melons grew in groves. Children chased large butterflies. The swallow flew on to a blue lake. There stood a half-ruined palace of white marble. The walls were covered with a flowery creeper full of swallow's nest. On the ground among the fallen columns twined some large white flowers. Sitting in the most magnificent flower was a handsome little mannikin. He wore a brilliant gold crown, and on his shoulders he had bright, delicate wings. The little prince was delighted when he saw Thumbelina. He thought her quite the loveliest maiden he had ever seen. He took his golden crown and placed it on her head. He begged her to be his queen and rule with him over the flower spirits. Then all the flower spirit fairies came with gifts. The finest present was a little pair of wings. The swallow sang Thumbelina his most beautiful song. Then he flew back to Denmark, where he had a little nest by the window of a man who writes stories for children. Quee-wit, 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 he sang to the writer, and from him we learned the whole story. So that was the story of Thumbelina. And if you enjoyed that, please feel free to leave a like and subscribe to the channel for more. Thank you for visiting my channel, and I hope you have a lovely day.